All right, welcome back. It's your boy MH Blackwell. And man, Sean Puffy Combs is in a lot of trouble as he's been indicted. In this video, we are going to do a couple things. Number one, we are going to listen to what he was indicted for. And then we're going to look at what he was indicted for in a political context and not just look at the things that are at risk for him, but also look at a strange coincidence and the timing of this arrest and how it actually benefits the Democratic Party to arrest and begin the conviction of an accused predator less than 2 months away from an election. And it very well may be due to them needing to move the focus of the American people to an issue that is strong for the Democrats, and that is the reintroduction of the Me Too movement drama. But don't worry, I will definitely break that down and give you my opinion of it in this video. But before we do, let's actually listen to what is being said.
Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution. The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. As alleged in the indictment, to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice. Let me say a little bit more about the charges. The indictment alleges that Combs abused and exploited women and other people for years, and in a variety of ways. As alleged, Combs used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sexual performances with male commercial sex workers, some of whom he transported or caused to be transported over state lines. Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time, involved multiple commercial sex workers, and often involved a variety of narcotics, such as ketamine, ecstasy, and GHB, which Combs distributed to the victims to keep them obedient and compliant. As alleged, when Combs didn't get his way, he was violent, and he subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse so that they would participate in the freak-offs, and that Combs hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair. On one occasion in March of 2016, that conduct was captured on video and later reported in the media. Specifically, Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a victim in a Los Angeles hotel when the victim was attempting to flee. As alleged, these assaults often resulted in injuries to the victims, which took days or weeks to heal. In addition to the violence, the indictment alleges that Combs threatened and coerced victims to get them to participate in the freak-offs. He used the embarrassing and sensitive recordings he made of the freak-offs as collateral against the victims. And the indictment alleges that he maintained control over the victims in several ways, including by giving them drugs, by giving and threatening to take away financial support or housing, by promising them career opportunities, by monitoring their whereabouts, and even by dictating their physical appearance. Because of all of this, the indictment alleges that the victims did not believe they could refuse Combs without risking their security or facing more abuse. The indictment also alleges other acts of violence undertaken by Combs and others, including violence against witnesses to his abuse, kidnapping, and arson. The indictment alleges that on more than one occasion, Combs carried or brandished firearms to intimidate and threaten victims and witnesses. Now, Combs did not do this all on his own. As I mentioned, Combs has been charged with RICO conspiracy. He used his business and employees of that business and other close associates to get his way. Those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff. The indictment alleges that those individuals facilitated the freak-offs. They booked the hotel rooms and stocked them with the supplies, including drugs, baby oil, personal lubricant, extra linens, and lighting. When the hotel rooms got damaged, they helped clean it up. They arranged for victims and commercial sex workers to travel for the freak-offs, and they delivered large quantities of cash to Combs to pay for the commercial sex workers. The indictment also alleges that they helped Combs cover up his crimes. During the March 2016 incident at the LA hotel that I mentioned earlier, a member of the hotel security staff intervened, and Combs attempted to bribe the staff member with a stack of cash to make sure that what happened was kept quiet. And as the indictment alleges, in late 2023, after public allegations were made about Combs' crimes, he and others pressured witnesses and victims to stay silent, including by making phone calls to witnesses and victims and giving them a false narrative of what they had experienced. And as alleged, Combs used others to help conceal his abuse by monitoring and preventing victims from leaving a location in order to hide their injuries, or by locating and contacting a victim who had attempted to flee. As part of this investigation, in March of this year, special agents from HSI executed search warrants at Combs' residences in Miami and Los Angeles. They also executed a warrant for Combs' electronic devices. During those searches, agents seized evidence of the crimes charged in this indictment. They seized firearms and ammunition, including 3 defaced AR-15s and a large capacity drum magazine. They also seized evidence of the freak-offs, electronic devices that contain images and videos of the freak-offs with multiple victims. And they seized cases and cases of the kinds of personal lubricant and baby oil that Combs' staff allegedly used to stock hotel rooms for the freak-offs, more than 1,000 bottles altogether.
Okay, so there you have U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, Damian Williams, who laid out the case against Sean Combs. And as you can hear, there's a lot of issues there that can cause big problems for Puffy, for sure. Real big problems for Puffy. You have racketeering and the RICO Act. You have violations of sex trafficking under federal law and the Trafficking Victims Protection Act. You have potential for charges related to aiding and abetting, conspiracy, assault and battery laws at the state level, statutes of limitations issues that are going to be put out there. Also, you've got for Sean Combs, big problems around civil liability. And he also has to worry about this. The impact of the Me Too movement. We haven't heard a lot about the Me Too movement in a while. And that's because it really took a lot of hits in popularity because there's a lot of issues around justice and fair trials, trying people in a court of public opinion, all kind of issues around the Me Too movement. However, and this is me just being a minor bit of a conspiracy theorist, but honestly makes a lot of sense. The only issue that I have around this whole thing, or only question that I have, is the timing. The fact that we're less than 2 months out from a major presidential election. The fact that as far as the issues affecting the Democratic Party, very little of it has been around issues of feminism and justice around the treatment of women in the workplace. Very little of that's been discussed. But with this indictment and arrest of the very famous and notable Sean Puffy Combs, now we can ignite that conversation again, and we can push this conversation through for the next 8 weeks and see if it may not give us a little bit of a boost in one of the Democratic Party's most significant and valuable subcategories of party members called feminists. And this is right down that alley. And not only does the subject matter work, but the optics work. It sells. People will pay attention to this with Sean Puffy Combs. It will trigger all kind of different feelings within the Black community as well. Even though I have to tell you, I don't know anybody that thinks Sean Puffy Combs didn't do it. But again, the question for me is not whether he did it or not, it's the timing of it. But in the conversation that goes on about the case and everything that transpires here forward, as we discuss it on this channel, it's going to be in a non-biased fashion, in a way looking at the proper application of the law and the facts, and taking personal opinions and all of that stuff out of it. Because at the very least, Sean Puffy Combs deserves that. He deserves his day in court. And if it winds up that a jury or a judge, depending on how it goes, finds that he did it, he did it. But you can't ignore the bit of political play that there is in this. And yes, it is very possible for a sitting administration to spotlight the prosecution of a case, of a high profile case with a subject matter that could affect the election. You saw it done with Bill Cosby in Pennsylvania with the person that was running for the state's attorney in Pennsylvania said that they were going to run specifically to put Bill Cosby in jail. And they did it. These type of things work, and you got to keep an eye on the timing of it. But we'll see how it plays out. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.